So lately, I've had several conversations with parents with very similar stories. And so naturally, I've given them pretty well the same sort of replies to questions that they've asked me. So I thought I'd put together sort of a collaboration, if you like, of the respective things that were asked and what I replied. I figured if there was two asking the questions, that there's likely to be others that this could be helpful for. So here goes. Now, the conversations were basically one parent whose partner had passed away, sadly, and they were both left with two children. And because of their work, they were in one state and their teenage kids were in a different state of the country. And both of these parents expressed their difficulty in the distance and trying to keep connection. Now, with screen time, of course, being basically the only regular connection that they were having, distance is one thing, but when you combine it with things like grief, it sure adds a level of complication. Wanting to ensure, and both of them certainly expressed that they wanted to ensure the connection wasn't lost. And they asked if I had any advice on how to keep the family bond strong when, situations basically forced them to be apart. Here in Australia, we have a lot of FIFO, fly in, fly out, workers in the mines. And so I'm sure that there's probably others certainly dealing with the distant aspect. My reply to them really is that the struggle with teenage kids is real. It doesn't matter whether you're living with them or whether you're not. They're a complicated beast. And it doesn't matter what age, any child losing their parent early is going to have its impact. And there's a lot of mixed feelings and all of that makes that challenging. So there's a few things I can share. Long distance stuff. Sure, there's phones and there's their digital things. But a novel way to connect with your kids is the old-fashioned way. Do letters. They'll get an absolute shock if you haven't prepped them to say it's coming. And it just gives them an extra layer of knowing that you're thinking of them and that they're important to you. They matter. You made an effort to actually put pen to paper. But from an energy perspective, and that's where I was really being asked from. And the truth is, you're never separated from them. On an energy level, there is always connection. It is only our attachment to the physical world that has a show, that's what we rely on to show us what's right, what's not, are we getting along? And that has us believe that we're not connected when we're apart from them. And it's actually not a truth. Now, the younger that they are, the more sensitive they are to the vibrational level of connection and communication. But it actually never stops despite the age. And one of my videos you might have seen was the way in which my energy was still connected to my father. So you can go looking for that one on in amongst my videos. Actually, it might have been a post on school in my community. So the emotional quality of your own energy will contribute enormously to how the kids experience you, both while you're with them physically or when you're separated. Now, often in these situations, it's easy to go down the spiral of self-criticism, guilt, shame, embarrassment maybe even. When that happens, that's the energy that you're unconsciously sharing with them. So my suggestion to these people that I was speaking to was along the lines of being really clear of your own feelings, the feelings about what's happening, the decisions that you've made, and notice where you go into guilt, remorse, or self-criticism, and just notice it, and then make a conscious shift. Shift from what you're feeling, not in denial, but shift with conscious choice, and go to a place where you can actually hold good feelings, knowing that those kids, your children, are being cared for, they're in a safe place, they're getting their education, presumably, and be clear that that connection is reached out with love, compassion, the feeling that you have for them, the caring that you have for them. And that way, the connection between the two, you and them, is in that vibration, not coming from the grief, guilt, or whatever else has taken you down the little rabbit hole, which becomes a big rabbit hole if you let it. So given what I was told about their circumstances for these respective people, I was certainly being aware of the grief factor. And that's something that you can't ignore. Grief is, well, it's a journey in itself, and it can take time. It goes in cycles, and particularly when it's somebody so close and so important. So when any of you, whether it's yourself or the children, are thinking about the family unit, it's going to include thoughts of the missing family member. And that will have your respective point of the grief cycle going on. Sometimes you might feel angry about it, sometimes it consumes you with tears, other times it's fear about how it's impacted the children, how it's changed the lives of you all. And none of that's to be denied, but it's also just a passing emotional quality that you recognize and accept that it's not all of you. It's a part of you that is having that experience. And again, you can make a choice to acknowledge, yes, you're missing them. Yes, it's had an impact on you. And find the love that you had for them. Now, I'm talking not just as a counsellor from a book. I lost my son 18 months ago. I've had a real experience and done the real journey. And yes, it still pops up. It's not something that's gone, but I don't let it consume me as an energy that I contribute to my relationship with the other people that still remain here, the rest of my family. I choose to find love, peace, compassion to connect with them from. Otherwise, my poor little granddaughter, all of 4.5, would be feeling tears all the time, or heartache, or anger, depending on where I am in the journey of grief. And I don't want to have that as her experience of me. It's not easy to do. It is a simple action, but not an easy one. I understand that. It has taken me a lot of years to be doing this, to do my life, to do journeys like grief in this way. But my suggestion to these people is that when you reach out, whether by thought or through the connection of devices, that you find love and compassion, the connection, in a way that is a wonderful experience for you all as you move forward in a new way, a new dynamic, new possibilities. There is a process called Love Presence process that's in my classroom, and it was a suggestion that they could go and use that. It's certainly a process you can use for any time, anywhere, anyhow. So you're all more than welcome to go and do that. I also do one-on-one calls. I do one free connection call with you anytime you would like to take advantage of that. And I also do paid breakthrough sessions. So if there is some work that needs doing deeper than that, then by all means take the time to book a session. Reach out if there's not a time frame that works, and we'll find something that's suitable. With us all working on different time frames around the world, it can be a bit of a time travel distance. So one of the other things I was asked was, what was the first simple thing that changed my life in this direction? And put simply, it's two things. It's energy self-awareness, and it's practicing that love presence process. The rest of it is more complex and relies on these two practices. So I spent a lot of time doing this in the beginning. Now I don't have to focus on it. It's a bit like breathing for me. I find the love presence often as an absolute practice. I set my day up with it. I find it anytime I'm distressed. Anyone that comes towards me that's distressed, I can send it out to them to support them. These two things are really, really key. And then they asked me what was the hardest part of it. And I think there was a couple of things. So I took repetition, as I said, a commitment to living the best version of myself. And this I felt was absolutely the way, because I had to know all of me in the bigger way. And learning to find love and compassion was absolutely something that wasn't part of my life before, and I wanted more of it. So that was a practice I took on. The greatest challenge, the hardest part, I guess, was shifting my existing beliefs. Who I thought I was, who I knew myself as, just in this physical presence. That was a concept that I was well and truly brainwashed in. I knew that inside out. So to stretch my beliefs, to constantly challenge that and look at myself from an energy perspective, look past the limitations that I had believed, which was everything I think and feel was my own. I had to constantly remind myself that, no, wait a minute, it might be somebody else's. And I had an amazing teacher and mentor. Absolutely incredible. She had so much wealth of knowledge, willing to explore new areas of it. And together we learned a lot. And that mentorship absolutely was key to keeping me from getting lost in my own internal world, really. I can go down the rabbit's hole in my mind anytime. And she was vital in the beginning to keeping me on the path that kept me stretching and shifting those beliefs that I'd held so firmly to. So then there was a question asked about, was there a specific moment when the shift happened for me? And I don't believe there was. My mentor was really important, as I said, and so that's one of the passions that I have, to be the backbone, the support, the stepping stone for others to learn this. While they do a shift in their thinking, we are very, very well trained in our separation thinking and not including the aspect of being energy. And so it can get quite challenging. I had plenty of big learning moments and changes, but it really is a journey of evolution, gradually incorporating what I'd learned and travelling through the changes, which became a never-ending rebirthing, really, of new versions of myself. Every time I got stuck, every time I get stuck, I just step into that energy field and address what's there and clear it on the energy level to free myself, and I move on. It's become a very quick thing for me nowadays. If you're curious about that, there is a video in the classroom that's got a talk that I did, and that talks about the old version of me, and perhaps you can learn something of who I was and where I've moved to from that talk if you wanted to go and watch it. It's about 20 minutes or 25 minutes long, I think. So what was my final realization? That I needed to find a mentor and start this stuff? When I came into this, my life was just a normal single mum, getting on with each day. I didn't go searching for this. This experience came to me, really. And again, you can find that in that video I've just spoken about. From there, once I got that insight to realize how connected I was to other people, how I experience other people's emotions, and the way in which when I was a child, that strength of connection forged who I believed I was. And so I had become a product, if you like, of all the people that I connected to, their emotions, their beliefs, and created who I was. And that's not who I wanted to be. So as soon as I found this, and I had the self-empowerment to make change to who I was, to live a life that wasn't dictated by the emotional connections I had with everybody around me, I wanted more of it. And that just kicked me off. As I learned, because I started doing this when my children were young. And so it not only became a journey for myself, it became part of my parenting tool bag, because I then was able to incorporate that same thing with my children and raising them, and realizing I know so much more now than I did when I was raising them, which is unfortunate. But the point is that I was able to incorporate some of it with them. And now I can offer even more to the current round of parents. So I hope this has given you a little more insight to me, my journey, and perhaps there's been a little nugget that you could take for yourself out of what I've shared today. And as I like to say, may today be better than your yesterday, and use today to make a better tomorrow.